You are listening to the IT Path Podcast. I'm your host, Dana Morrison. Let's go and help you claim your journey into IT. This is Dana Morrison from the IT Path Podcast. This is episode 9, entitled Don't Panic. The audio might be a little different on this episode. I am traveling. I'm visiting a very good friend of mine who's just having quite a struggle health-wise. So that's why the audio might be a little bit different. No special intro music, anything like that. But here we're going to get going. We're going to keep moving on our path, even through the struggle. We have to keep moving on our path and embrace the challenge and move forward. So I'm sitting in my car. I've got a little microphone hooked up to my phone, and I'm recording on Zoom. And I do have a very important topic for you all this week. So I hope you can get past the audio. If this is valuable information, I'm sure that you will. And I hope that as you get toward the end of this, you realize that panic is a real problem for us. Stress is a real problem. And we've got to be able to find strategies to move past those things. So a very important message to share is that I had a panic attack. And then I realized I've had many panic attacks. This is not something brand new. The insight that is panic attack is brand new to me. So what can you expect from this episode? Well, I hope that you will have some clarity about what panic attack is and how it affects you, but also maybe it gives you a reason not to get into IT. Not that it's having a panic attack, having panic attacks is something that's specific to IT, but maybe you're looking for a parachute. Maybe you're looking for the abort button, stop, whatever, escape, and you realize that it's because of panic attacks that is bringing you to a brink, like you have to escape. I'm gonna walk through some things that have gone on in my life, and I'm gonna kind of go back and look at some things that I believe that have been panic attack issues in my life. I got a lot of this book from a lot of this information that about panic attacks from a book called Rewire Your Anxious Brain. I do not have the authors in front of me. I apologize for that. But you can find it on Amazon. I'm doing the audio version. It's called Rewire Your Anxious Brain. So look for that book. If this resonates with you, you're going to want to get some information. You're going to want to get some help. So I'm unzipping myself here before you all, letting you know what's going on in my life, because we can't live lives with this hidden knowledge. I'm finding things out about my own self, and I want to share that with you all to help make you all better as well. So at IT Path, I focus on connecting you with your IT passions. But for some, getting into IT might be an unhealthy escape. You're looking for anything. You're looking for the button. Where's the abort button? Where's the emergency switch? How do I shut this machine down? And we definitely don't want you to change careers. I don't want you to change careers if you're feeling like that's the case for you, is that you've been panicking. So bear with me as I unravel some of my story. Some of this is going to be repeat if you've listened to all of the episodes, and you're going to hear some things in here that you've probably heard before, and that's okay. I'm going to try and hit on some things quickly and then dive into what I'm learning about panic attacks, how to control them, and how to get past this. So in 1998, I got my first gig in tech. I love everything about tech. I enjoy my work. I love working on wiring, networking, troubleshooting servers, tech hardware, all that stuff. And this is the thing that drives me. It's my passion. Every day is different in IT, and that's awesome. So in 1998, I got my start in a school. I'd been doing a little bit of subcontracting before that, but I got a start. And you guys are going to see a trend. So hang with the story, and it's going to start to piece together toward the end of the episode as we piece some things together. So I got my start in 1998. I had to learn from the ground up. I really didn't know a lot about much. So they gave me my first shot, and I got going. 2007, something happened. I felt like my IT career in Maine was causing us, that I was basically losing some opportunities. I felt like my career was caving in. Like maybe there was opportunities I could have that I didn't have because I was living in remote Maine, and started to explore other opportunities. I kept wondering about my future. So you got to remember, I'm 9 years in at this point, as far as being a contractor, uh, basically full time subcontractor for the school, caring for their systems. I kept wondering about my future and decided to shift to work at a wind farm with GE. So I did that. Stetson Wind Farm is still there and going, and that is it's just outside of Danforth. I guess it's just inside of the Danforth boundary, but it goes. I think it crosses some town lines. But anyway, I regress. So I pivoted. I decided I was going to get into this wind farm thing, because wind was up and coming, and it's going to be big, and a lot of people are doing it. A lot of companies are getting involved in it. GE's a good company. So all of these things. So I decided to pivot, and I learned how to be an office coordinator for a wind farm. Then my boss, Greg, the site manager, he quit. And GE decided rather than hire a new manager and promote me or promote me, they could bring in somebody new, or they could promote me to that site manager position. I was getting very familiar with the systems and procurement of parts and all of that stuff. Instead of doing that, they wanted me to do all of my boss's work. They were not going to hire. They were not going to promote me, and I quit. Um, and I would say let's put a pin in that. Um, 2008, I headed back into IT. Basically, I walked into the superintendent's office, and he asked me. He said, "What would it take to get you back? What to name your price almost?" And so I said, "Here's what I want." I said, "I want full-time employment. I want full benefits. I want a real office, not a closet." I think I've shared with you all many times that when schools look for places to put people and they don't have anything available, they just basically turn a closet into an office. And so I was working out of a closet with the servers. It was very cramped. It was pretty loud. And anyway, the superintendent, after I told him what I wanted, uh, gave him a price, told him I wanted full-time employment with benefits, told him I wanted a real office. He literally said, "Done." And he confirmed and called me back on the next day, and I started within 2 weeks back at the school, same school I was at before. So that's 2008. 2011, again, I find myself in moments of despair. Where's my future going with technology? How will I ever be able to retire? The worry, the angst. There just isn't any growth. I'm at the top of the chain as far as there's no growth above me. So is this going to be my life for the next however many years? And yeah, I kind of got bored with what I was doing. The excitement of working in IT, even though every day was different and I didn't hate my job, it was kind of it was scraping on me, I guess you could say. Like there were things about it that were really becoming annoying to me. And I shifted. I shifted to a school in Hodgdon. And I decided that I was not going to be a IT director for a while. I was going to work on being an IT integrationist, technology integrationist. So I would work with the teachers specifically on their technology, on their challenges, on their stack in the classroom, as far as their, the Promethean boards and smart boards and all of those things. And I would help them get acclimated to technologies in the classroom. Teachers are very slow moving people. They're not typically quick to adopt new technology. So, I'm pushing a rock uphill in some ways. But I did that for a year, and then their IT director was retiring, and there were a lot of issues with the technology at the school. I mean, there was old switches, there was old server, there was just a lot of things that needed to be refreshed and updated and upgraded and all of that. And they hired me into the role of IT director. So it's all really the same lingo. If you're the only one doing being an IT coordinator in a school, you're basically the IT director. If you're the only one doing IT administration in the school, basically you're the IT director. That's the highest role that you're going to get. But I said, yeah, I'll do it. And then again, um, it was like, where am I? This is it's never. Am I in this never-ending cycle? Am I in this spiral of death for IT because it seems like there's no place to grow, and I'm trapped? And put a pin in it. So again, more worry, more anxiety. There isn't any growth. I need to do more. There's something in me that is like, I need to do more. There's a bigger calling in my life than to help people reboot a printer or reboot a computer. Or to put in a network switch, it didn't matter. This whether it was simple or complicated, I just felt like there was always more. So again, I got bored with what I was doing. I felt like I'd flipped the IT department and got got the school working in a really good way, and all of this anxiety begins to set it back into me. So it's 2014, and I'm kind of stressed out, and I decide, you know what, let's pivot. Let's just hard pivot. And we basically moved my family to North Carolina. My wife and I are two sons, and I got a job as a teacher in a school, teaching technology. I figured, well, maybe more interaction with people, maybe that will help, maybe interacting with the students in the classroom. I very quickly learned I am not cut out for the kind of teaching that happens in the school system. The grading, the homeworks, I was overwhelmed. I had to draft basically 5 courses on the fly, throughout the school year. I'm writing all this curriculum. I'm logging it into a system called Curriculum Track, and man, I'm overwhelmed. And yeah, the second year being a teacher would be easier, but when you know you're not a teacher, you shouldn't be teaching. Well, I knew I wasn't it. I love to teach. Don't get me wrong, but I am not the institutional teacher. I teach different. I teach with hands-on, working with hardware, with just whatever it is. I'm building things, building computers, stuff like that. That's the way that I operate. That's my MO. So teaching in a classroom was not the kind of thing I was really getting a thrill out of that. So their IT director left, and guess what? I went right back into it, became the IT director again. And then, 2018. So put a pin in 2014. Now it's 2018. And again, I'm finding myself in this cycle. What's next? Worrying about getting stuck again. I feel like I need to do more. As IT director, there's no place to move up the chain. And I feel like paralyzed in my career. So I decided to go into IT auditing because that's what institutionally they tell you is, oh, you're getting a lot of experience. You should be moving into a role where you're working in security or auditing or something like that. I do love security. I love talking about security. Actually, we hope to have a couple guests on in the next week or two to talk about some security things. But yeah, so I went into auditing, and I hated it. Oh, I hated it. First day of work, you guys know the story. I went in and there was 127 projects that had to be managed. Like a lot of them were these little micro projects where they had these small deliverables that were reports and auditing things and blah, blah, blah. And the team didn't really have good communication strategies and ways they were kind of like shooting from the hip. Seemed like we'd get into the office on a day and they'd be like, oh, we have a report due today. And so we would do a report and then visit the customer on the same day. It was stressed out of my mind. I am not that, I don't operate well in that environment. And I like to plan. I like to think ahead. I like to be prepared. So that did not work well with me. They didn't want to improve and all of that. So I ended up getting done. And again, put a pin in it. And so what was going on with me? What was this pattern? And we see now I get into a luxury golf brand and I love it. I love the company. I love what I'm doing. I'm building automations. I'm building applications, microservices, and from the stack up all the way up to programming, the most challenging complexities in the business are on my desk. But what's been happening, and some things were happening, like going out of control again. They were getting worse over time. Systems were becoming more and more complicated. Every change required, to more and more thinking. It wasn't like I could just apologize if you can hear the background noise. There's a tractor driving by. I am in Maine right now, and there's a tractor driving by, and he might drive by again. We'll see what happens. But there's more and more thinking involved for every challenge, every thinking, all of that causes technical debt. And that is when you make commitments to the organization that require technology to do something. So occasionally in conversations, my heart would start to race. I would start to sweat, palms sweaty. I would lose concentration. I could hear it in my ears at times. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And there were meetings that I would freak out. Like I could not focus on anything. I was just losing control. It was like you're losing control of logic. And I just couldn't place it. What was going on? What was happening? So all of those things that we put pins in, back in 2007, pivoting, back in 2008, pivoting, back in 2011, pivoting, 2014, 2018. Gosh, you can see a trend here. Maybe about an average of 5 years. There were things going on with me and mentally in all of these situations, losing control. More and more, this became, I would say, and we'll talk about panic attacks in a little bit, more and more anxiety, more and more stress, more and more of the heart racing, lack of concentration, sitting at my desk, paralyzed, unable to think. Have you been there? Man, I feel your pain. If you have been there, if this sounds like you, this sounds like I'm telling your story, but maybe put a different job layer underneath it. This could be panic attacks for you. And there is hope. Let me tell you, there is hope. So have you been so stressed out that your heart races? Maybe even you can hear it in your ears? Causing a lump in the chest. Oh, that was a symptom I hadn't mentioned before. Causes a lump, like feeling like a lump in your chest. Your palms are sweaty, your forehead sweaty, can't think. Even simple things feel impossible. You feel paralyzed. Oh, my buddy, he's in the hospital, and I'm up here in Maine visiting him. And the news has not been great. And I'll tell you, this happened to me last night. My wife and I were in a grocery store and trying to pick out some basic things that we needed for the family that we're staying in, with right now. Some things that we wanted to pick up, we wanted to eat, make, whatever. And I'm in a grocery store, and I mean, this is going on. It's like mentally, I am taxed because of that situation. Like it's you're giving 100% effort into a situation, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I wasn't having a panic attack last night. I don't believe it wasn't like the heart rate was racing, but I was in that place where I was really having a hard time thinking. And I'll be honest with you, it has been hard to get this recorded this week. There's just been so much going on. But you guys need to know this. You guys need to deal with this. If this is going on in your own life, so it doesn't serve me to hold this in. It actually feels better to talk about it, to get it out on the table and let people know this is a struggle that's been going on in my life. It's way better. It feels better for that. It doesn't take it all away, but it does make me feel a bit better. So as I examine my life, I've had many of these moments, these panic attack moments, heart racing, shutting down your logic. And then on top of all of this, I get worried about my buddy in the hospital. And I'm packing up the car a week ago Wednesday, and I'm throwing my stuff in, and basically I even packed clothes that needed to be washed just because I didn't have a lot of clean clothes in the drawers. So I'm getting in the car, and I'm traveling up north, and from North Carolina to Maine. And then I start to listen to a book called Rewire Your Anxious Brain. And I start to realize, oh my goodness, these are the things that are going on in my life. And when we come back, we're going to talk about these things because they are difficult. They are challenging.
Hey, this is Dana Morrison, host of the IT Path podcast, and I hope you are enjoying this week's episode. Are you interested in getting into IT? Let me ask you one simple question. What is holding you back? IT Path is dedicated to developing a community, content, and courses that will help you get unlocked and stay unlocked on your IT journey. I have more than 25 years experience in IT, and I want to share with you what I've learned and give you the tools to succeed on your very own IT path. Even if you are just starting out on your IT journey, we're here for you. To find out more, simply go to itpath.net and sign up for the mailing list, and we will start by sharing some tips, tricks, and tools to help you get going and keep you going. Go to itpath.net and claim your journey. Start your IT path today. Thank you so much, and let's get back to the episode.
Okay, and we're back. So here's some things that we need to know about anxiety. And anxiety and stress can come from two locations in the brain. This is what I'm learning. The amygdala and the cortex. The amygdala is that fight, flight, freeze response in the brain. And the cortex is the logical portion of the brain. The amygdala is that central, takes over everything. It has the ability to take over everything. And I guess it's like about almond size pieces of the brain. And there's two. There's actually two, but it's often referred to in the singular. The book is very clear about that. Like the amygdala, they act together, but they're referred to in singular as amygdala, not amygdalas or anything like that. So this is like the panic portion of the brain. So if you're having a panic attack, there's no logic that can save you. And this was eye-opening to me because I had people try and talk to me logically during and after these events, and the logic does not help. The logic, somebody's saying, oh, just calm down, or it's okay, don't worry about it. That doesn't help when you're in a panic attack. When your amygdala is like in gear and taking action, cortisol is being released in your brain, and that is why you no longer have the ability to think logically, or it's limited. It's your ability to think logically is limited. Your body's saying, how do I escape the situation? How do I get out of here? So a previous episode, I had mentioned about my Mazda 3i Sport. I love that car. I think it was a 2011 or 2012 car. And it was a great car. It was a 6-speed. I loved it. It was fun to drive, got great gas mileage. But I had mentioned in an episode previous that I had begun to associate that car with my work when I was at that place that was doing auditing. And getting in the car immediately was putting a lump in my chest. Driving to work became challenging. And that's what the amygdala does. It works by association. It starts to associate a scenario with with um, with firing off the chemical, the physiological reactions, the raced heart and the feeling in your chest, tight muscles, all of that. It starts to associate those with places. So driving into work the last few weeks has been a real challenge for me because there's a certain place, bend in the road. I get to that bend in the road and the amygdala is kicking in. I feel that with the weight in my chest. Take a deep breath and be like, okay, I'm going to work. And then get to work and then sit in the car for a minute and be like, I really don't want to go inside. Because I'm associating the things, these various things. Now I'm associating the place, I'm associating certain people, certain kinds of conversations, the amount of work I have, all of that I'm associating with the stress, with the anxiety, and the amygdala is responding. It does what it does. It responds to these things. You can't logic with this. I can't say in my mind, it's just a car. That doesn't work. I can just get in my car and drive someplace, even if it's not work. No, because when I sit in my car, I've already been associating getting in my little Mazda my little black Mazda 3i Sport. I was associating that with work. So it was immediately making me anxious. And I learned this in this book, like how these associations work. I had associated stress from my work with my vehicle. But now I was associating stress with my current job, right? This is the job I had after working for a luxury golf brand. And it was shutting me down. So mid-June 2023, I was looking for an escape. Mid-June, yeah, just like a couple weeks ago. I was looking for an escape. I asked for a break, and it didn't look like that was going to happen. So in a conversation, I hit the panic button. Yeah. I basically said I quit, put my laptop on a desk, walked down my boss's desk, and walked out of the building. Man, I'm unzipping myself here, guys, girls, before all of you. Be easy on me. But I think this is really important for people to be aware of the dangers of this and how this works and how this panic starts to break down how we think. Because my panic was being driven by just this thought. There's too many things going on. There's too many projects. Listen, I have an understanding boss. He wants to help me through these challenges, but logic does not work when your brain goes into fight, flight, and freeze. Your logic portion of your brain, your cortex, it's not thinking right. So I felt trapped. My heart was pounding. I could hear it in my ears. I couldn't think. I'm just like, where's the emergency hatch? And as I drafted these notes, I'll tell you, I felt the same way. Felt the lump in my chest. I was reliving the moment. And that can also be a trigger for a panic attack, as I learned from the book. So I had put my laptop on my boss's desk, walked out, and then I took a long walk. And it's funny because the book talked about this as well, Unwire Your Anxious Brain. The authors talk about how if you go out and get exercise, that calms your systems down because your body is looking to burn off extra adrenaline and all of those chemicals that have been building up. And so to be able to go out and take a walk, that's a great thing. So I went and took a walk, not knowing that was helping. But I listened to the birds. I went on a trail, listened to the birds. And then I had a really good conversation the following Monday about stress. And guess what? I still work for that luxury golf brand. I still have a job because I'm identifying what's going on. I'm not just escaping from it. And that escape would cause me to want to just pivot, go somewhere else, do something else. You can do something else. You're a smart guy. And I am. But I'd associate all that stress with my workplace. Did my boss put that stress on me? No, my boss is actually pretty understanding, and he knows that, I've needed help for a while. So no. Did it come from my team? No, my team is great. We have an awesome team at our company. Did it come from me? Well, yeah, it came from my brain, but that doesn't mean something is wrong with me. I think this is something important too. You need to realize if you feel like this, guess what? This is normal. Because when the amygdala starts to make these associations with stress, with different triggers, they're called, then this is how your brain is designed to work. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It means that my brain is working like it should, but that I have some associations that are hurting the way I respond to what would normally be a much less stressful situation. So, why do I share all this with you? Well, if you're trying to pull the escape hatch as an excuse to pursue a career in tech probably isn't for you. If that is your motivation, you're just freaked out about work and you've tended to like what you do, then keep doing it and figure out a way to get through the stress, get some help. So this should not be I look at my own life and I say, well, see, I never pivoted out of tech. I just pivoted in jobs because of the anxiety that was building up. And I would say that was a cycle, that was like a sine wave that kept getting stronger, right? Increasing the amplitude. I think that's right. And the amplitude of the wave to make it just more and more each time that I was experiencing it. So that's important for you to know. If you think that you can pull an escape hatch and just get into tech, pursue a career, pivot your skills and all of that, you probably can. You can probably do that. No question. I mean, you can just take your skills and you can go wherever you want. But if you're like me, it's not really going to solve the problem. Probably a year, 2, 3 years, 4 years, maybe 5 years down the line, if you haven't dealt with the stresses, then you're just going to undergo the battery of the panic attacks, and it's going to just keep coming back. And now, that doesn't mean that every day in tech is going to be easy. Certainly not. There's certainly big challenges in tech, and I preach it all the time. We have to be willing to do hard things. So there's another book. It's called Effortless. And I can't remember the author's name for that one either, which is about making the workplace more enjoyable, having fun with what you do to alleviate the stresses before they become a real problem. So perhaps you're like me and you need to get on a path for some mental healing and improve the amygdala's associations to make our days and work and all of that much more fulfilling. And stress is going to affect not just your workplace. It's going to affect all of your relationships in life. And I found that to be true in my own life. And I think you find that probably be true in yours. It affects your relationship with your spouse, your friends. When you go out to dinner or you're taking a walk or whatever, your brain is on high alert. You keep thinking about the issue. You keep thinking about the work and all of that. That's not healthy. Don't go there. Get help. Do that before you start to pursue a career in tech. And do your career, if you're going to pivot into tech, do it with a very clear mind. This is what you want to do. And we can help you get there. That's what we're here for. Thank you for listening to the IT Path podcast. We're here to help you get moving, keep you motivated on this IT journey. go to itpath.net. We have a free assessment that you can take that shows you some of how skills can cross over into tech, different ways to get free learning, and all of that. Look, this probably hasn't been the most enjoyable podcast to listen to. And I don't mean that as far as like the audio maybe not being as up to par. I mean that as far as the content and having to deal with heavy things. But look, if there's heavy things to be dealt with, I'm not gonna sweep it under the carpet. We're gonna deal with it, and we're gonna deal with it together. And that's really what our community is about. So if you're thinking about tech and you want to get involved and you want to start getting some of that encouragement and help you decompress your brain a little bit, go to itpath.net and take the assessment. You can take the assessment and then you can schedule a free 30-minute discovery call. And you can also get into the community for $49 a month. Right now is our pre-launch price. You can get into the community, and I welcome you. We are just launching. I'll be honest with you. We're at this point of this podcast coming out, we are just now launching. So look, you could actually be the first person to join the community who's ready, who's pulling the trigger, saying, "Hey, look, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to commit myself and take a step." I've been looking for connections like you. If that is you, if that resonates with you, you're ready to do this. You're ready to take your first step. You're ready to get going, and maybe even just having this conversation today helps you realize that I really care about you, and I don't want you to have to go through that stress or any of that anxiety alone. Then, hey, welcome, come itpath.net. Take the assessment or just sign up for the $49 a month community. And we've got a bootstrap course that kind of helps you start thinking past the walls that are preventing you from taking your first step in tech. I want to help you. I'm here for you. And my name's Dana Morrison. Thank you for being here with us today.
You have been listening to the IT Path podcast. Did you like this episode? Why not subscribe and share with others? IT Path is dedicated to helping you claim your IT journey. You can find out more at itpath.net.